This development has come as a shock, even to the most experienced observers of global politics. India, a nation Washington only a short while ago counted on as a key strategic partner, and a counterweight to China in Asia is now making a sharp and unexpected turn. And what's striking is that this turn isn't neutral, it isn't cautious, it is aimed directly against the United States, President Donald Trump, confident that aggressive tariffs would pressure New Delhi into submission, appears to have underestimated just how much the balance of power has shifted both in Asia and in the global economy. The earliest warning signs appeared not in rumor mills, but in respected publications. The Economic Times of India and Britain's Financial Times both reported, citing government and industry sources, that New Delhi is now seriously considering freezing major American corporate projects inside India. At the very top of that list stands Apple, perhaps the single most recognizable symbol of American technological dominance for Washington. This is more than just bad news. It is a direct blow to one of the cornerstones of U.S. corporate strategy. Over the past several years, India had become the main destination for Apple's long-awaited shift away from manufacturing in China. It's worth recalling why this shift began in the first place. For decades, Apple relied almost exclusively on China, its Foxconn factories, its workforce, its efficiency. But as tensions escalated between Washington and Beijing, trade wars, tariffs, sanctions, tightening tech regulations, and rising nationalism, China became an increasingly risky partner. For a corporation worth nearly $3 trillion, that risk was simply too high. That is when Apple began seeking an alternative, and India emerged as the obvious choice. The reasoning was simple and compelling. First, India isn't just a giant market. It is one of the fastest growing smartphone markets in the world, with a population of more than 4 billion. Hundreds of millions of people are now entering the consumer class, many of them looking for premium devices. Second, the Indian government offered generous tax breaks and subsidies to foreign investors, creating a welcoming environment for companies like Apple. And third, the political factor. Washington viewed New Delhi as an essential ally and Asian counterbalance to Beijing's expanding power. Apple's move into India was not just corporate diversification. It was also part of a broader geopolitical strategy. It created tens of thousands of jobs in India, invested billions of dollars, and aligned U.S. influence with India's economic rise. But now that entire strategy is at risk of collapsing. According to Bloomberg sources within India's Ministry of Commerce, New Delhi is considering not just halting new Apple factories, but even freezing production lines that are already under construction. This is explosive news. India is openly signaling that it may cut off one of Apple's most important future lifelines. And it is doing so directly in retaliation against Trump's tariff policy. Trump's new order had imposed fresh tariffs on a wide range of Indian exports, textiles, pharmaceuticals, and other key goods under the justification of protecting American jobs. But in India, the move was seen not as protectionism, but as humiliation. The Hindustan Times, citing government sources, put it bluntly, Washington underestimates how much India has changed in the past. New Delhi had no choice but to listen to the United States. Today, it has its own levers of pressure, and those levers are not limited to economics. They now extend into geopolitics. Behind India, increasingly, stands China. This is the nightmare scenario for Washington. Just yesterday, Trump was assuring American voters that he could play New Delhi against Beijing, exploiting the long-standing rivalry between the two Asian giants. But reality may be shifting faster than the U.S. expected. According to the South China Morning Post, Chinese and Indian delegations have quietly held several rounds of meetings in Dubai and Jakarta. On the table, joint energy projects, settling trade in local currencies instead of dollars, and even coordinating their positions at the upcoming BRICS summit. If confirmed, these developments would mark nothing less than a strategic earthquake. Losing India would not just be losing a trading partner. It would mean losing the very counterweight to China that U.S. foreign policy has relied on for decades. Western media outlets are already sounding the alarm. The Guardian warned, Trump is driving India straight into China's arms with his own hands. And Foreign Affairs, the flagship American journal of diplomacy, noted Washington underestimated the rise of India, the rise of India itself as an independent power center. For Apple, the consequences could be severe. Analysts at Counterpoint Research estimate that by 2027, nearly 25% of all iPhones worldwide were expected to be assembled in India. Already today, models like the iPhone 12, 13, and 14 are manufactured there, with future flagship lines planned as well. Foxconn, Pegatron, and Wistron factories in the Indian states of Tamil Nadu and Karnataka are running at full capacity. Billions have already been invested, contracts signed, workers hired, and suddenly the risk emerges that all of this could be suspended. In plain terms, New Delhi's move could destabilize not just Apple but the US economy itself. The global audience sees this for what it is. The world's largest democracy, long regarded as an American ally, is now openly positioning itself in confrontation with Washington. The White House is scrambling to respond. According to Reuters, options under consideration include restricting Indian IT firms from the US market, limiting visa programs for Indian professionals, and tightening technology partnerships. But the irony is clear. Such measures would hurt the United States just as much, if not more. Indian engineers are the backbone of Silicon Valley working at Google, Microsoft, and countless startups. Cutting them off would damage American innovation at its core. Meanwhile, New Delhi's tone is becoming more assertive. The image taking shape is that of an India no longer content to play the role of Washington's ally in the Asian game. Instead, it is acting as an independent global player ready to use its growing economic power as a tool of foreign policy pressure. The potential consequences are massive. Apple could face production shocks. The US stock market could feel the ripple effects. And geopolitically, the entire structure of American influence in Asia could be upended. Analysts in Germany's Handelsblatt newspaper describe it as a dangerous turning point. Decades of American strategy painstakingly built around balancing China with India could unravel. Washington may be left with only Japan and South Korea as its core allies in Asia. Meanwhile, India, instead of containing China, might begin working in coordination with it. That would represent not just a failure, but perhaps Trump's greatest foreign policy defeat. Losing India means losing influence in the very region where the 21st century will be decided. But beyond the immediate headlines lies something even more significant. For the first time in modern history, India is showing that it is ready to use its economic strength as an instrument of global power, not just for domestic development, not just for attracting investment, but as a weapon in international negotiations. This shift fundamentally changes the rules of the game, and the timing could not be more symbolic. India is preparing to host the BRICS Plus Summit where, according to the Financial Express, one of the major announcements could be the creation of new settlement mechanisms in rupees and yuan for global energy transactions. For the United States, that would be nothing short of a shock. For decades, the US dollar has been the primary tool of American leverage. If India and China move ahead with this alternative, the dollar will lose a portion of its privileged role, and Washington will lose yet another lever of influence. Ultimately, Trump's tariff war may achieve the opposite of its intended effect. Instead of forcing New Delhi into compliance, it may drive India to declare loudly and clearly that it is independent, strong, and willing to say no to the United States. What began as a battle over tariffs could end as a watershed moment in world politics, a moment where India, once seen as a supporting actor in America's script, steps onto the stage as an independent power ready to shape the global order in its own right. And if that is the outcome, it may well be remembered as one of the defining legacies of the Trump era, a world where the United States not only lost India but also lost its ability to dictate the rules of the game.